57% of the teens surveyed say they have texted while driving. 76% say they believe regular texters and drivers will eventually be killed in a car crash. 93% say they believe regular texters and drivers will eventually have some kind of a crash. So clearly there is a disconnect. Oftentimes speed can be the biggest factor when it comes to eye injuries. So we decided to use our radar gun and put this thing to the test.
Our balloons topped out.
Oh my gosh, that was 94. Start the timer. A quick Google search for prescription drugs without a prescription. And you've got over 44 million websites to choose from. So pick a site, pick your drug. In this case, we'll go with Viagra. Pick your quantity, proceed to checkout. And in less than 30 seconds, I'm ready to enter in my billing information. I'm going to use my cell phone. Granted, it has a smooth back, so not as much traction as a tire, but still. Brock says wearing a mask made doing her job very difficult. She typically talks to patients for 1 or 2 hours a day. Having the mask on made it tough for her to be understood. Plus, her glasses would fog up, so she had trouble seeing her patients. It's so easy. First, you set up a fundraising page. Then you select a fundraising goal and a fundraising end date. And finally, and most importantly, you share your page. And others will too. Here is the pretty crazy part. Lofton is only going about 25 miles an hour. See? So imagine how much more difficult this is at higher speeds on the curvy county roads.
You've heard us saying all week how difficult it is to get in and out of the city of Moore just because of the outpouring of literally thousands of volunteers. It's so crowded there. Well, Shawnee hasn't nearly had that kind of turnout, and as you can see, there is certainly damage here, quite a bit of it. There were even 2 deaths. One local man definitely took notice of this. We're not talking about the big agencies like the American Red Cross. We're talking about the lack of private volunteers, and now he's speaking up.
Joe, we left the station at about 12:30 this afternoon, and we decided we would head east since we know that the storm is kind of heading north-northeast. So we got on 60 East. We made several stops along the way, and mostly what we saw is a lot like what you're seeing here right now in Kabul. We just crossed the Texas county line from Wright County, and that's where the storm kind of got the heaviest. We've seen a lot of heavy rain. We've seen a lot of slick roads out there. Traffic has been moving very slowly. In fact, we saw a lot of fender benders as we were leaving the city of Springfield. No accidents or crashes along our way as we continue to head east, but still traffic is moving very slowly as the roads are very slick. So we advise you, if you are traveling out there, definitely you want to take your time. A lot of thunder, a lot of lightning, nothing severe where we've been to this point. But let me show you what kind of technology we've been working with. We're in the Storm Chaser vehicle. This is the KSPR Storm Chaser. And inside here, I'm only going to open the door for a second because of the rain, but we've got it set up so we have our laptop and we're able to check radar. We can connect to the internet as we're driving down the highway. And of course, we're keeping in very close contact with Chief Meteorologist Kevin Leidy. He's giving us updates as we continue our trek east towards Howell County and the West Plains area. And if we encounter any damage or we hear of anywhere to go, we'll definitely head that direction and we'll keep you posted.
Lee, it's a very quiet, dark, and somber scene here on Trace Hollow Road, backing right up to Table Rock Lake, much like the news that an elderly man and woman were killed here tonight. They were a couple, a married couple. They were inside their home when it happened. The family showed up just as we did. We came just a few minutes before they did, and brand new Stone County Sheriff Doug Rader had to deliver that news. Obviously, he was very uncomfortable sharing the details of that conversation with us, a very difficult thing for him to talk about. I'm not standing in front of the home where it happened because Stone County Sheriff's deputies actually have the area blocked off. I'm at the top of the road. Here's what we know about what led up to this tragic outcome. A neighbor called 911 just before 6 o'clock tonight to report suspicious activity. 2 deputies who were riding together at the time responded. They found the couple dead, but they also found 2 suspects still on the scene. Those suspects were arrested. The sheriff will not say much about those men right now, including how or why he believes they killed the couple in the couple's own home. Again, we're in a very remote part of Stone County, but it's actually pretty heavily populated, especially during the summertime. This is a vacation area, so some of the residents are part-time, just seasonal, and some of them are full-time. In fact, the sheriff says there were only 2 others home at the time of the murder this evening. This is obviously very difficult news to hear and to have to report out of Stone County tonight.
Joe, literally just a few seconds after we got off the air, Coach Shockley himself came out of these doors over here where you can see there's just a few students left. But before there was a huge crowd. His remarks were very brief. He had them prepared. He read from a statement. But the biggest part, the part that got all the applause and the cheers and the Doc Shock chants, were when he said, "I will continue to be the boys basketball coach next season. So these kids were celebrating. They were really pumped.
Well, believe it or not, this is actually where Katie Ratliff and her boyfriend Rodney Penny rode out the storm. They crawled down into this culvert, curled up together. It's right underneath a pretty major intersection. That was all literally 30 seconds before the tornado went right over them. It's one of those stories you really have to hear firsthand to begin to comprehend. Fool her once, shame on Mother Nature.
I was young, I was dumb, and I didn't really think that the tornado was going to come.
Fool her twice.
The second time around, I was really prepared more.
There was a twice, but no fooling Katie. Since surviving Joplin's EF5 tornado just a week after Katie graduated from Webb City High School, she's taken every tornado siren seriously. So her boyfriend, not a Midwesterner, does too.
Yes.
They say that's what saved them.
Shared will to live and the common sense and just being ready. You know, when the alarms went off, Katie, get your phone, get your charger, let's go.
The pair travel for their jobs and have been in a second-story apartment in Moore just 2 weeks. They knew when the sirens sounded, they needed to get low.
So we head across the street to the bank, bang on the door real loud because the doors are locked. Manager comes out, say, well, he already knows, he could tell by just our faces. Sorry, guys, we just can't let you in.
The couple was turned away.
Katie speaks up. It's right there. It's right there. I look to my left. It's coming towards us down 19th Street.
A nearby culvert is what saved their lives.
Whoever job it is to make sure bridges like these are supportive, thank you. Yeah. Thank you. That's definitely very much appreciated.
Ironically, Rodney and Katie fared better than the bank. As you can see, the cars in the parking lot behind me have the windows blown out and the windshield smashed. Not to mention the building itself, which is all boarded up and pretty much unusable.
He made the decision that day for us not to live, because to close the door on us, knowing, like not possibly, but knowing that there is a tornado coming towards us, and you are going to close the door and tell us because of legalities we can't come in. That speaks volumes about the type of person that you are.
Maybe it also says something about the kind of person Katie is.
I've been through 2 tornadoes and survived. Like, that's an incredible story. Not a lot of people can say that.
Yeah, pretty incredible. When Katie and Rodney came out of the culvert, they said that everything they saw when they went in was either gone or, of course, it was broken. They say they heard people died in those houses you can see in the distance behind them. Rodney said he doesn't really know how to describe that feeling of knowing that others were killed, especially when he and his girlfriend managed to survive in a ditch. A pretty amazing story tonight. Joe?
Lee, Park Place Apartments, just off the Branson Strip, is where things came to a head today, but it is certainly not where this story begins. This is where Desiree Clark lives. You may remember her from earlier this week. She is the victim of an alleged kidnapping in Springfield. She's the one who left a note in a gas station bathroom begging for help. A couple found that note and then came to her aid. She also has a baby girl with Sean Robertson, the man she says kidnapped and raped her. How quickly things have gone from terrible to horrific.
I took him out of the water. Gave him one last hug. He was my little brother. He was brave. I'm sure he fought.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sure he did.
Ivan Valentine says the man who kidnapped and raped his girlfriend earlier this week came to their Branson apartment complex, this time looking for him. Ivan says Sean Robertson threw a knife at him, then bolted into the woods, but not before drowning Ivan's 18-year-old brother in the bathtub.
It was just there at the wrong place at the wrong time.
It was just my little brother. That was enough for this bastard to kill him, because he was caught.
Ivan's girlfriend, Desiree Clark, says Robertson is her ex-boyfriend and the father of her infant daughter. And had he been charged in last week's kidnapping, Ivan's brother would be alive.
I think this does not have to
Everything
happen.
can be prevented.
Everything could have been prevented.
Everything could have gone differently.
While the couple was talking to us, this piece of good news.
He was waiting right there. What do you think that means? They caught him.
They got him.
They got him?
They got him.
Oh.
Yeah, he went into the water, and they had to use a taser.
Oh, thank God.
Oh.
But he's in custody. But he's in custody.
Desiree and Ivan are only temporarily relieved. They say Robertson has been in prison before and come back with a vengeance.
If I would see him, I would absolutely kill him. And this is a confession. I would kill him, and I'll turn myself in, and I won't care. When people are saying he should suffer, no, he should just die. Suffering is a waste of time.
Ivan and his family are from Puerto Rico. He says his brother had only been in Branson since last summer. As for Desiree and her little girl, she says she would like for Ivan to adopt the baby. Also, Desiree says that she filed a restraining order against Sean Robertson, and there was a hearing scheduled for that restraining order this coming Tuesday.
Life moves fast, so fast. Sometimes we forget to think about what happens when it's over. No, not up there, down here. Suddenly, the world that seems to hold an infinite number of people in life can accommodate only a limited number in death.
It's just something most people just don't think about.
Jay Wasson isn't most people. He's been thinking about death for the last 30 years of his life. He's been on the board of Nix's Glen Cemetery that long, but the cemetery has been here much longer.
There's at least a dozen, I think, maybe as many as 18 or 20 Civil War veterans buried here.
Wasson worries that history's been forgotten.
Families, members die off. Others do replace them sometimes, but sometimes they don't. In my own family, a lot of my cousins don't live here anymore. They live elsewhere.
The cemetery, like so many in rural Christian County, relies almost solely on donations, and with expenses going up.
We're kind of in the hole every year.
And there aren't enough holes. These little cemeteries are filling up.
Part of the problem is Christian County is the fastest growing county in the state of Missouri. It grew by more than 66% in the 1990s and by more than 42% in the first decade of the new millennium. But cemeteries are not keeping up with the population. So when all these new residents die, where are they supposed to go?
We bought an extra acre.
But others have found alternatives.
The baby boomers have broken tradition.
Lynette Hall's Springfield-based urn business is booming as well. The cremation rate nationwide is 35% and growing.
When I first started this business, there were only 4 or 5 retailers because all of our business is online. So now there are hundreds, just in the last 5 years.
5 years, gone in a flash. And when the rest of Jay Wasson's years are gone with them, he knows where he'll go.
I've got my plots over here in my family line.
Do you?
It's definitely a problem.